Golfunity, the most popular golf infotainment podcast in town. Welcome to the Deep Dive, powered by Golfunity, the most popular golf infotainment podcast in town. And welcome to episode 23.
Great to be here.
We're jumping headfirst into your sources today because we're just off the back of one, well, seriously fantastic golf tournament.
Couldn't agree more. It feels like just yesterday we were setting the scene for the Soudal Open, and wow, that event really delivered on the drama, didn't it?
It absolutely did. We want to give you the clearest possible picture of what just went down and what's teeing up next on the DP World Tour.
Yeah, think of it as your insider briefing. Sharp, relevant, and, well, hopefully a lot of fun, too.
Okay, so let's unpack that absolutely wild finish we saw last week, the Soudal Open in Belgium. I mean, where do you even start with that?
Well, you have to start with the winner, right? Kristoffer Reitan from Norway. What he managed to do on Sunday was, well, it's something you just don't see very often in pro golf.
Rarely is putting it mildly.
Mm-hmm.
The sources show Reitan started the final round 9 shots off the lead. 9 shots.
I know.
He was all the way back in 23rd place. I mean, most players in that position are just playing for a decent finish, maybe, chasing a top 10.
Exactly. But he didn't just play well. He, absolutely lit the course on fire, shot a stunning 10 under 62.
Tied the course record.
Yeah. And what really jumps out in the sources is how he did it 10 birdies on the card, including that ridiculous run.
Yep.
6 birdies in a row right around the turn.
Can you imagine watching that score develop?
Oh, man. Seeing that must have felt just unreal for him, for the leaders, for anyone watching, really.
And that incredible charge just pushed him all the way up into a 3-way playoff.
Right, with the overnight leader, Ewan Ferguson, who'd been pretty solid all week, let's be fair.
Yeah, he had. And Darius Van Driel, who kind of engineered his own late surge just to get into that playoff spot.
Yeah, he did. And that playoff itself, back up the 18th. Pure theater. All 3 players made par, maybe a bit nervy the first time around.
You could feel the tension. And then the second time around, Reitan steps up, drains a 15-footer for birdie.
Bang! Snatches the win.
Just like that. Talk about a clutch finish to a totally improbable day.
Absolutely. And what really struck me, reading through the sources, was his reaction afterwards. What'd he share?
Oh, yeah?
He called the win ridiculous, which, feels about right, doesn't it, given where he started the day?
Totally.
But the really sort of poignant part, he mentioned he'd seriously considered stopping playing golf a few years ago, said he wasn't enjoying it, wasn't seeing the progress.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that detail about his journey.
Yeah.
It really puts this win into perspective, from nearly quitting the game entirely to becoming a DP World Tour champion. He said it felt a little bit my day, which might be the biggest understatement of the whole year.
It really makes you think about the grind these players go through, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So much struggle that we just don't see, and then moments like this pop up.
Right. And tough break for Ewan Ferguson, of course. Leading for so long, then drop those shots coming home.
Yeah, that's got to sting.
And Darius Van Driel, too. His finish, 3 straight birdies just to get into that playoff. That's the kind of fight you love to see out there.
Absolutely. Pure determination.
And digging a bit deeper into the sources, there were some other cool details that came out. This was Reitan's first ever DP World Tour victory. Yeah. Came in his 69th start.
69th, okay.
And it makes him only the 3rd Norwegian winner ever. He joins Viktor Hovland, who obviously everyone knows.
That's pretty elite company.
It is. And he earned his card just last year, came from the HotelPlanner Tour. So it just shows that system, that pathway, it's working. And that 62 wasn't just a course record tie. It was his lowest DPWT round ever. A massive personal best for him. And remember, the conditions were apparently quite tricky earlier in the week, too.
Right, yeah.
So for someone to come out and shoot 62 on Sunday, it just really underlines the quality of that round. It was exceptional.
And looking down the rest of the leaderboard, that group tied for 4th had some familiar names, didn't it?
Yeah, Troy Merritt was in there, John Perry, Jordan Smith, Houghton Lee, Kristen Lawrence, too. Some solid players rounding out those top spots.
Definitely. Now, let's talk fantasy for a sec, because this is where it gets really interesting for a lot of you listening.
Oh, yeah. Restinen. Hardly anyone saw this coming in the fantasy world. He was only picked in, 2.25% of fantasy teams last week.
Wow. Tiny. If you were in that, 2%, you're probably high-fiving yourself all the way to the virtual bank.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Jordan Smith, who we know was a fantasy favorite going into the week, he actually delivered a pretty solid T4. So that was a good call for a lot of fantasy managers.
Okay, so that was the electric finish in Belgium. Absolutely captivating stuff. Now, the tour packs up, moves on, heads somewhere with a totally different vibe, I think. We're off to Austria.
That's right. The DP World Tour is returning to Austria for the Austrian Alpine Open. It's been 4 years since they were last there.
4 years, okay.
And this is quite a historic event, actually. It's the 23rd edition of Austria's National Open. You look back at past champions, you see names like Bernhard Langer, Paul McGinley.
Oh, wow, Langer won it.
Yep. So it's really cool to see this event back on the schedule.
And the venue sounds pretty special, too, based on the sources. GC Gut Altentann, near Salzburg.
That's the one. And get this, it was actually the first course in continental Europe designed by the Golden Bear himself, Jack Nicklaus.
No kidding. Nicklaus is first on the continent.
That's what the sources say. And it hasn't hosted this event since way, way back in 1992. So bringing it back here definitely adds another layer of history, doesn't it?
It really does. What do the sources say about the course itself? Has it changed much?
Well, they mentioned it's had a recent redesign, kind of aimed at restoring Nicklaus's original vision, bringing it back to life, but also making sure it holds up to the modern game.
Makes sense.
It's just over 6,900 yards, apparently known for its contoured bunkers, huge greens, and water comes into play on more than half the holes. So plenty of trouble lurking.
Sounds like classic Nicklaus thing. Got to think your way around.
Exactly. And they've moved the 18th green now, so it finishes right there in front of the clubhouse. Should make for some great finishes, great atmosphere for the fans.
Yeah, that always adds a bit of drama. So demanding strategy, precise shots, not just bombing it.
Absolutely. Now, looking at who's actually playing this week, the sources point out a really interesting mix. We've got some Ryder Cup connections, for starters.
Oh, yeah. Who we got?
Well, Captain Luke Donald is teeing it up.
The Ryder Cup captain, playing in Austria.
Yep. Apparently, it's his first time ever playing a tournament in Austria. And the sources say he's looking forward to playing in front of some new fans, which is a cool little note.
That is cool. Anyone else?
Yeah, Vice Captain Edoardo Molinari is also playing. He's been showing some pretty good form lately, actually, after dealing with a wrist injury. He even just qualified for the U.S. Open.
Oh, good for him.
And another vice captain from Rome, Nicolas Colserts, the Belgian bomber, he's in the field too.
Okay, Ryder Cup flavor.
Yeah.
Then you must have the Austrians, the home heroes.
Oh, absolutely. Bernd Wiesberger is the clear headliner for the home crowd.
Big name.
Huge name. 8-time winner on DP World Tour, former Ryder Cupper himself. And he actually won his National Open back in 2012.
Oh, so he's done it before.
He has. He'll definitely be feeling that home pressure, I imagine, hoping to do it again.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Who else? There's also Matthias Schwab. He's a local ambassador for the event's presenting partner, so he'll have a lot of focus on him. He's had 2 runner-up finishes on tour before, so the game is definitely there.
Wow.
While the sources do mention he's struggled a little bit recently, so maybe playing at home could give him that spark he needs.
Could go either way, couldn't it? Extra pressure or extra motivation.
Exactly. And Lucas Nemes is another one to watch. He's had a promising start on the HotelPlanner Tour this year. He's in the mix, too.
So quite a few locals hoping to make some noise.
Yeah, the sources say there are 14 Austrians playing in total, which is great to see. And that includes 6 amateurs getting a chance on the big stage.
Fantastic opportunity for them. Now, this week is also important in the bigger picture, right? The European swing.
Yes, absolutely. This is the 3rd of 6 events in this particular swing. And these swings, they're a big deal now in the season structure.
How so? What's on the line?
Well, the player who performs best across the whole swing, the winner of the swing, basically, they get some huge rewards. Entry into all the Phase 2 events, they're calling those the back 9, plus a $200,000 bonus.
Wow, $200K?
Yeah, and a spot in the Genesis Scottish Open. So that's some serious motivation right there.
Definitely. And after his unbelievable win last week, guess who's currently leading the European swing rankings?
Let me guess. Kristoffer Reitan.
You got it. The momentum from that win could really carry him forward here.
It certainly adds another interesting layer to watch this week, doesn't it? See if he can back it up.
Okay, let's pivot slightly then and talk about the fantasy golf angle for this Austrian Alpine Open. Because we know a lot of you listening are probably tinkering with your teams right now.
Always a fun part of the week.
So the sources give us a peek at who's popular this week, who people are picking.
Right. The highest ranked player actually in the field is Rasmus Nørgaard Petersen. And he is the most pick player so far, just about. He's in 43% of teams.
43%.
But it's incredibly tight at the top. Jordan Smith, fresh off that T4 in Belgium, he's right behind him at 42%.
Wow, neck and neck.
pretty much. Then you've got Juice Luton, the Dutchman, at 36%, Matthew Jordan at 35%, Alex Fitzpatrick, Matt's brother, at 29%.
So it's quite spread out among those top guys, unlike some weeks.
Yeah, it seems like managers are trying to find that little edge, maybe diversifying a bit more this week. And Bernd Wiesberger, the home favorite, he's well-picked too, just under 5% behind Fitzpatrick.
Makes sense. People backing the local hero. Now, what about the expert picks? The ones to watch from the sources for this specific course and field?
Okay, so their designated favorite is Rasmus Nørgaard Petersen.
The most picked guy.
Yep, makes sense, right? Highest ranked player there, just qualified for the U.S. Open. He's had runner-up finishes this season on both the DP World Tour and the Challenge Tour. So he's clearly in form, has the pedigree.
Seems like a solid choice. Who was the form horse?
That's Jordan Smith. He was actually their favorite last week, remember? And delivered with that T4.
Right, good call by them.
His consistency right now is just, well, unreal. Hasn't missed a cut in 2025. 3 straight top 10 finishes now. And he also qualified for the U.S. Open. So based purely on recent performance, he's one of the safest bets out there.
Okay, safe bet. What about the wild card? Always like this category.
Yeah. It's Troy Merritt.
Troy Merritt, the PGA Tour winner. A wild card.
Well, yeah, calling a 2-time PGA Tour winner a wild card feels a bit spicy maybe, but he is kind of fighting his way back, isn't he?
True, yeah.
He just had that top 5 last week in Belgium, which shows he's getting closer. And the sources note that he actually enjoys playing overseas, likes the different challenge.
Okay.
So that kind of experience, that comfort level in different environments, maybe that could make him dangerous this week. A bit under the radar.
Could be. Interesting pick.
And hey, don't forget, for everyone playing fantasy, there are fantastic prizes up for grabs all season long. Season tickets, merchandise, even a trip to Dubai, plus weekly and monthly goodies too.
Definitely adds another layer of excitement to following the tour each week. All right, so let's wrap up this deep dive then. We relive that, well, genuinely ridiculous, improbable finish at the Soudal Open. Kristoffer Reitan coming from the depths of the leaderboard, like 9 shots back.
Shoots a course record 62.
Gets into a playoff, and then just grabs his first win. Amazing story.
Truly amazing. And we've looked ahead to this week's Austrian Alpine Open, a significant return to Austria to a historic Jack Nicklaus-designed course. We've looked at the key players to watch.
The home heroes feeling the pressure, the Ryder Cup connections.
And the high stakes involved as the European swing really gets going. All framed, of course, by the insights from your sources.
Okay, so here's something maybe to chew on as you watch the action unfold this week, building on everything we've just talked about.
Yeah.
We look at these players out there. You got a guy like Reitan who almost quit the game, then finds this incredible moment. You've got seasoned vets like Wiesberger and Schwab dealing with that unique intensity of playing at home, or someone like Troy Merritt grinding his way back after tasting success elsewhere.
Yeah, all those different narratives.
How much do those deeply personal stories, those past struggles, the weight of this specific week's pressure, how much does that really impact what actually happens out there on the course? Is it just about who hits the ball best that week, or do these individual journeys somehow shape destiny in unexpected ways?
That's a great question. It's what makes golf so compelling, isn't it? That human element is always, always just below the surface.
It really is. Well, that just about does it for this deep dive. We really hope you enjoyed our look into the recent happenings on the DP World Tour.
Yeah, hope you found it interesting.
And if you want more of this kind of insight and golf infotainment, make sure you ring the bell. And follow Golfunity, the most popular golf infotainment podcast in town, on all your social media channels so you never miss one.
Absolutely. And join us for our next deep dive, episode 24, where we'll be right back here breaking down all the news and excitement from the Austrian Alpine Open. Should be another good one.
Head over to our social media.
Yeah?
Tell us what you think.
Let's hear it.
And give us your predictions for the future of golf.
Until next time.
Keep it in the fairway.
And hit 'em straight.